This beat crazy.
And now, a three-time sports editor, former online and managing editor, and host of Talk That Talk, award-winning journalist Terrell Chatterbox Emerson.
Welcome to it. Welcome to it. It is a little after 10 o'clock on a Thursday night. It is time for the Talk That Talk radio show. I am your host, Terrell Chatterbox Emerson, on this beautiful Thursday night. And as a matter of fact, in studio with me, my guy Will Des, part of the Sporting Tribune, most recently of Sports Illustrated, Ball is Life. What else am I missing? I know I'm missing at least one.
Field level. So yeah.
Field level. Shout out to you. Shout out to everybody that you associate with, obviously. And of course, if you guys are watching on YouTube, you already see who Will is over there with. I brought Spade back, guys. Spade, I'm about to open this door so you can go back out in the suite because this is not what's supposed to happen. He's definitely still in the show at this present moment. But again, welcome guys to your Thursday installment of the Talk That Talk radio show. I'm Terrell. That's Will. That is also Spade. Again, guys. Hey, did you see him? Did you see him react to the TV?
Yeah.
Because I'm on it. Jeez. All right. We about to get him out of here. But it is your Thursday installment of the Talk That Talk radio show. I am your host, Terrell Chatterbox Emerson. Will Despart, thank you for joining me on this Thursday night. Again, guys, this show is being shot from the studio here at the Harry Reid Research and Technology Park here on Sunset, here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We got a lot to get to today. As a matter of fact, we have 45 minutes of basketball probably to start with, and then we'll venture out and do some other things, right? But before I do that, I know it's been a lot for you recently.
Yeah.
What's been going on with you, brother? Spade, come here.
Oh, mostly just writing. Got again a new couple gigs, so just trying to grind it out pretty much every day. But
I was just about to say that one of the things that you actually had said, actually, I don't think you told me. You told me a couple of. First of all, this field is super dope for a couple of different reasons. But whenever a person is telling you what story they're working on, and you know beforehand, it's always a good deal. You've told me maybe 2 or 3 recently that you were going to work on, and then I seen 2 or 3 that you didn't tell me about that I was like, oh yeah, Will is just out here working.
for sure, a couple interviews. I interviewed a NASCAR driver a couple weeks ago. Then I interviewed the director of the Earnhardt documentary on Amazon Prime that premiered today, which is pretty cool. And then last week I interviewed Chris Brickley.
That was the one that you didn't tell me, and I was like, damn
That
it.
was pretty sick. He posted it on Instagram and everything. He has like 3.9 million followers. So I was like, okay, that works.
That definitely works, brother. Trust me, this field is amazing. You could at any point you could tell him to get down because the more that you do that, the more he's gonna do it.
Get out.
Spade, get down, get down, and get out. It is what it is, buddy. It's sports time. You dig? But again, man, we kind of just talked about it right now in terms of it being sports time. This is episode 32 of season 7 of the Talk That Talk radio show, episode 358 in totality. Again, I just mentioned our YouTubes a second ago. If you guys would like to watch us on YouTube, all you have to do is go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk radio show. Once again, go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk radio show. It's pretty much the same across every platform: Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's the same across everything except for for Twitter, excuse me. Our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. Once again, our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. My guy Spade is here. My guy Will is here. I got a tip in from my mom that's actually really funny today. And then we will get started with this beautiful show. My dad didn't send me a tip in today, so We'll probably be able to get out of here since we started about 15 minutes late, maybe right at 12. But we'll see about how this goes. May end a little bit earlier, but my mom's tip in for today. Little laugh, right? I'm a small business owner. If you see me talking to myself, please do not stop me. I'm having a team meeting.
Word.
Yeah, I agree. Completely speaking, I seen it and was like, yeah, this tip in was made for me, and it was made for me on a day like today. But let's get to it, man. It's our Thursday show. I just kind of prefaced it by saying we got 45 minutes of hoops talk.
Just perfectly fine with me. Hoops is what I get paid to do. So
Speaking of, I saw you, and first of all, you weren't here the last time I brought Spade here.
no,
But the
I-
last
this is
time-
my first time meeting him.
Right. But the last
why?
time you were here,
He's such a fan of me.
yeah, this guy is, trust me, every camera he can find, he's gonna find it. Last time you were here though, you said that, hey, back up.
Go.
There you go. You said that you hadn't met him yet.
Mhm.
I was at home today and I was like, you know what? I think I could do it. I think we
Yeah.
could bring him in. And now Spade is joining us on this Thursday. But like I said, about 15 seconds after seeing you tonight, we interact with Spade for a brief moment. And then I looked down while we are in the elevator and I said, oh, you got your A1s. Will Despard.
Trying to get him right. Yeah, there we go.
There we go. There we go. With the Nike sock too.
Wow.
You want to give a small little rundown of I don't want to sit here and make it sound like you're selling the shoe, but you can talk about the way it feels. You can talk about when you got
I
it.
feel really good. Like
Yeah.
I don't play basketball. I did when I was like a teenager and younger as a kid. But I would imagine like if I wasn't just like fat now, I would imagine if I played basketball, these would feel good to play basketball in because I feel like when I'm walking, they're like airy, they're nice. They run a little small for sure.
Okay.
I'm a 13, like big feet.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I've been a size 13 shoe since I was in 6th grade, which is absurd because I was like, I've basically been this size since I was in 6th grade, just not fat. So like, but back to the shoe. It's like, yeah, I literally ordered it like last Sunday, or not Sunday, whatever day they came out. Maybe it was Friday or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
These and the indigo ones came out.
They did. They
blue
did.
ones, but I wanted these ones specifically because I always just buy white shoes. They go with everything. If you see me out, you're definitely gonna see me in a pair of white shoes or at least like tan or something that's like a neutral.
Something
color
light.
like that.
Something
yeah.
light.
I don't wear like black shoes. That's kind of a thing.
Really? Why is that? Like that's concentrated?
It's just I don't know. I'm like ADHD, so I like a pair of white shoes with every outfit.
Just being well again.
It's like picky stuff.
That might make life a little easier for you too, because you're like, I know where I'm not venturing out from at least, right? But you talked about those, and in doing that, sit down. And in doing that, I realized, what's today? The 22nd.
22nd, yeah.
Oh. And I realized maybe like 10 minutes before we started. The shoes I was supposed to get today, or the shoes I was supposed to get, the A1s I was supposed to get actually came out today. I don't even know if I want to say it out loud because I'm like, everybody is probably already rushing there. But those pink and black ones, yeah, those are the ones that I'm grabbing.
I feel like they all first sold out real quick. And then
Quickly.
But like these ones, I didn't go on like right away, like a couple hours, like maybe even like a day or two. Like I don't even know. But like I think the other colorways, like the pink auras definitely
they went fast.
Were on limited like stock on that first. But these ones I feel like were probably like
but those are the ones that everybody wanted at first too. Those pink ones everybody wanted, right? So I'm actually gonna tell this story.
I'll let the fans get those ones. Look at my white pair.
Yeah, I actually, you see first 3 colorways. I've just kind of played the background. I'm like, y'all rush out, go get those. But I actually tweeted earlier that the women in my life apparently think that I have a direct line to the A1s, and I don't. I just want to let you guys know.
I pay full price, by the way.
Yeah, just in case anybody wanted to,
Nike.com.
So I do have 3 that I have to get though. which makes me kind of like, ugh. But
I know there's gonna be more fire colorways too that I'm gonna.
Oh, I
be
can't wait.
Shelling out for, especially like the specialty ones in like a couple months. during
Can
the
you
season.
imagine if, or not? Can you imagine? But
Like,
I
the
don't know if
All-Star Game
Asia's
one's
gonna
gonna
get
be
a what
fire.
a
Yeah,
what the
that-
version. Like
Do
I
they
mean,
do those anymore though? Like, when's the last
uh,
what that they released? Like, that's like
it's valid.
that's a decade old thing, probably.
But it's a Nike thing, and I feel like you can kind of do it now because now you can do
yeah, you could.
it in the W. You can do it with Sabrina. You can do it with Asia. I feel like if you start with two, you can make it a
You
thing.
got to get some real iconic colorways to do that though, because like what the KDs, they had the Weatherman and they had like the Galaxy on it, like a bunch of fire color. Like those were like that era of sneakers is so classic.
We are not supposed to be talking about this right now. What's your favorite KD?
Personally, the 5, because I didn't like the low ones
You didn't?
for my build.
Okay,
Like
smart man.
on like thin people, like Slenderman KD builds, yeah. But like,
So you didn't
I
like the
was over-
PGs either, then? Come here.
I didn't hate them, but I think the KD, like what the 6 that was the low ones.
Well, the fours were low too.
Whatever the ones that looked like the peanut butter, the famous peanut butter and jelly ones, like whatever
Those might be the 7s.
word. Yeah, those ones. Yeah, I don't know.
If those were because he had a Galaxy pair too. We're over here having sneakerhead talk.
No, the 4s. I know the 4s were low, but the 4s weren't. The 4s were low. The 5s were like kind of higher, like kind of
higher than the 4.
And then the 6s, I think, were real low ones. Maybe it's 7.
Because the PGs is the one that I was questioning you about, because the PGs were the last sneaker that I wore and I was like, this could be my basketball shoe, right? These A1s I have not worn yet, but I anticipate that these A1 or A1s will be.
Yeah, the 6s were the what I'm talking about, low ass ones.
The 6 ones were the ones you were talking about?
Yeah,
these A1s look like it's gonna be my. Oh, there you go. These A1s look like it's going to be my basketball sneaker. Yeah, those are tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the KD4s might be my favorite, actually. Because you look at the KD4 Galaxies.
That's why I asked you,
were like
four
gray,
is
yeah.
four is
The
yeah.
4 Galaxies were stupid. Hold on.
And then I promise after this, we're getting right back to Hoop Talk. I promise. Well, technically, this is Hoop Talk.
It is Hoop Talk.
Technically. And as a matter of fact, we're actually starting the show with a little bit of Asian news, a little bit of Las Vegas Aces news as a whole. Second game of the season on the road once again, still continuing its East Coast road trip to start the year. The Aces, as a matter of fact, wrapped up a 25-point win in Connecticut over the Sun. Is that going to be the worst team in the league this year?
It could be.
That or Golden State?
Chicago.
You think Chicago is going to be the worst?
Terrible. Team? They look terrible. You watch them today?
You still think they're going to be the worst? I didn't watch them tonight.
Horrible.
Are you? It's 42 more games.
They looked real. They look as bad as like. It's just Angel in terms of like what they have. Like Ariel Atkins is not really working there. Everyone's already saying that third pick trade was a disaster.
But when you sit back and watch, you've watched a lot of basketball. You've been able to see people and teams jail and things. I mean, to be completely honest, we're gonna get to that.
I think they don't have Kennedy. I think a huge part of that team last year was Kennedy and their motor, and like even that the way they complemented Angel. So like, I don't know. I don't think they have that motor this season. They just have Angel kind of like you see her almost like you see her driving. Like I don't think Angel should like be driving too much. Like she should be in the post, like making her living in the post. Like she's already like not a great finisher. We know that. So she should be put in positions where it's easier to finish, not where she's driving in from the top of the key.
So
kind of what she's having to do now.
Which I also think whenever it comes to post play in general, I think it's going to take time. I feel like whenever people, because you mentioned the Ariel Atkins point, and I was going to mention Jewell Loyd. I anticipated Jewell Loyd to struggle the first 4 games or so. But to see her have game number 2 and look as fluid as she did in game number 2, I'm not so uncertain that Ariel. And again, I was one of those people that seen the Ariel Atkins pickup too and was like, okay,
I
they
thought it was
just did
good at the
something.
time. I was a defender of it. Like I thought the
But
third pick.
Two
now-
games in, don't hop off the bandwagon, brother. Just wait.
But then you also see what Citrone's doing in Washington
Yeah,
and even Kiki.
yeah.
Like it just like you traded that pick because you thought this was going to be a weak class, right? It's not a weak class. It's turned out to be a pretty strong class actually, to the sense where like the first 5 picks are like really good contributors or will be in this league.
And almost right away too, right? Going back to the Aces really quick, and going back to that aforementioned Jewel Lloyd, right? 20 points, 4th quarter threes. I thought that was probably the biggest thing that she can kind of hang her hat on. There was a comfort level that came with. It's because I closed this door. That's why I'm waiting for them to finish out there. But it also came with a fluid level, right? Like Jewel looked uncomfortable for the first 10 minutes of the game on Tuesday, and then was completely different. And again, having only covered Jewel in all-star settings, this one in particular, this season in particular, in terms of when we cover Jewel, as both of us actually, I'm excited to be able to learn Jewel a little bit. And she keeps telling me every time she talks to me, and I'm sure you've heard it, I'm going to rely on this routine. I'm going to rely on this. I'm not changing it. I'm not changing it. To see her have her breakout game in game 2 for the Aces is the best case scenario, because going back to what you just said a second ago, I'm thinking the first 4 or 5, probably by game 5, you'll have it figured out. I'm thinking for the first 4 or 5 games, the Aces are going to be struggling when it comes to implementing Jewel Lloyd into this offense. She made it click in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how accurate of a litmus test the Liberty was for the first game, because I think the Liberty's just so much better than everyone else in the league, where it's kind of just like the Aces played them relatively fine for like, I mean, they were getting smoked early, and then they came back and pretty much tied the game, and then obviously they got blown out at the end again. But I mean, it was hard to like judge where they were really at because of how bad, or not how, because of how good the Liberty looked. And then you obviously have the other side of the spectrum with the Sun, where it's like they're just terrible. So it's kind of like you're stuck in the middle of like what's going on here with this team. Are they going to be great? Are they going to be decent? Are they going to be contenders, not contenders? Like I don't know.
So
I gotta see what they do one against Washington tomorrow, which will be interesting, and then what they do against teams like Seattle. I mean, we know New York's going to overpower them pretty much every time. It'll be interesting to see how they play Indiana. Indiana looks strong, but maybe not as strong as maybe people might have expected with the way they played.
Not as strong as I expected to begin with. Somebody's asking, is this live in the chat? It is live. This is your Thursday installment of the Talk That Talk radio show. Will, you kind of just alluded to it a second ago, right? But when it comes to this group, gonna be honest with you, when things click, things look scary good for this group when it clicks. When it comes to the mentality of this group, I said it before too. I said game 1 is going to let us know a lot about the season. It's going to let us know either, hey, this is the start of the revenge tour, or in terms of New York, hey, Las Vegas, that title window that you thought you had is closing a lot faster than you thought. So I'm not sure that game 1 told either one of those stories, but I do think as the season goes on, especially based on what you just said, I feel like it could be leaning more toward the latter than the former.
I don't disagree. I just have to see it in action. Like, I don't know. Last year was kind of like, they have the pieces. It's just a matter of putting it together, and then they just never put it together. So it's kind of like, okay, I got to see it now. Like, it's not like it was in 22, 23, where you just know it's going to happen. It's like, I got to see it, especially against the league. Now, it's a tougher league.
It's definitely a tougher league.
There's, I think, 4-5 championship contenders this year. I mean,
I think you might have it a bit much.
New York, Minnesota, Indiana, Vegas.
Okay.
So 4.
Did you have a 5th one?
Not off top. I was probably being a little generous in my estimation.
Okay,
But
because four sounds about right. Because I felt like Indiana could be a top 4 team in this league. Also, he's walking around with his elephant.
my thing with them is I don't like they could like a 3-game playoff series or a 5-game playoff series. They could like I wouldn't want to see them.
Indiana.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're gonna slightly overreact during this episode because we're 2 games in.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, right? Indiana, you talked about Chicago looking terrible. You just said you was a little nicer when it came to Indiana. They don't look the way that we talked about
No.
in the
not at all.
offseason. And I think as long as that's going to be a situation, people are going to feel how they feel about it. Now, for instance,
I
it
would
may-
say
it
they're
may-
definitely 4th on like the list of contenders.
for sure, but it may be another Minnesota type of situation brewing. And I mean Minnesota in the NBA. Minnesota coming into this season, they were like, well, they were a Western Conference team, probably going to finish top 3. I said it still. All-Star break, I was like, I think this team just started playing like a team about a month ago. And then the end of April, I was like, I think they got it together. I think they might have started to get it together in the playoffs. So the funny thing is, I look at the Indiana team and I'm watching the way that these first 3 games I think they played now, have gone. And I'm kind of sitting back watching and going, they don't really got to figure it out now. They can figure it out in August.
I mean, and you go back to last season, they start like 1-9 or whatever it was. And then by the time the playoffs rolled around, they weren't a team that anybody wanted to play in the postseason. Like they played the Sun awfully tough in that series, and the Sun
Absolutely.
were a championship caliber team before they broke it all up.
So everything begins and ends with Asia here. We started the show with the A1s and ended up talking basketball, shoes. Asia, that's what happens. But one of the things that I talked about with Asia during the post-game presser, I thought it was just interesting because as a sports fan, you watch for certain things, and then obviously in this field, you watch for certain things. And then when those 2 lines intersect, it's usually a pretty good story out of it, right? Asia alluded to working on something in the offseason several times, right? This offseason. And she kept saying, I'm keeping it a secret. She said it last year. And then we saw the 3-ball, right? 2 years ago, I think they started to, I'm trying to figure out what they were doing 2 years ago. I forgot exactly what the offseason change was, but she kept it a secret. About a weekend, you were like, oh, okay, cool. Is this the change, right? So that's become like my favorite part of the year. Watching Asia into the year and then trying to figure out what's going on in terms of, baby boy, it's not time to, nobody can throw the elephant right now. He has his toy. I don't know what to tell you guys. But this particular year, right? I watched it in game 1 and I was like, okay, that's a little something there. And this is when I knew that something was there. I'm watching D Hoop University, right? Shout out to Hoop. And Daryl is breaking down the New York Liberty's win over the Aces, and he was just like, hey, I know it's in a loss, but Asia is going coast to coast now. And that might change some things.
I saw a stat that said she brought, like, I think it was Nikias, how do you pronounce it?
Nikias.
Nikias,
Yep.
yeah. He posted a stat and was like, she brought the ball up more times in the first game than she did any game last season.
Sounds about right. And it's by far. And as a matter of fact, this is actually the way my question went with Asia following the game. And I'm actually going to see if we can get this queued up.
You work on in the Asia, you usually like to keep your whatever you work on in the off season a secret until the season starts. 2 games in, it looks like you have more of a willingness to run the break when you get the ball off the rim. You even gave us a Euro today. Is that kind of safe to say that was something that you focused on this off season?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little get it out, agent. I'm so excited to talk about this. Clearly, definitely was a piece of my game. My trainer just wanted me to feel comfortable with the basketball in my hand, and I knew coming in, Becky just really wanted me to sometimes push the break, and kind of started. And that's what I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable enough to have the ball in my hands. And I mean, shout out to my teammates for trusting me with the ball because they just take off running and leave me with it. So I got to figure out something to do with it. But no, this definitely was a piece of just adding to my game and making sure I can have the vision to just make plays, easy plays for my teammates, and sometimes just be productive in another way.
You want to say anything about it?
I mean, I think it's necessary for her to continue to evolve, not because she needs to get better, but because you see LeBron, right?
I was thinking so many athletes don't.
LeBron is still adding stuff to his game, even maybe not now, but he was adding stuff to his game up till like a few years ago and to his 40s. So, I mean, if you want to be one of the greats of all time, if you want to be remembered in that tier, you got to evolve over your career, and that's what she's doing. So, props.
So I'm just thinking now, because now, especially hearing her answer too, seeing how excited she was to even talk about it, right? She even said how excited she was to talk about it.
When you saw Becky at Media Day, she's like, I'm not telling you what it is.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, if you're around this group enough, like I know you are, everything is nuanced in everything that you cover, but this group in particular, I've learned is extremely nuanced, right? And I say that to say I saw that, right? Asia going coast to coast as Will admires his A1s. I watch Asia go coast to coast and I'm sitting back and I'm like, hey, what happens when she goes coast to coast and she starts to develop the sight and the vision? So what happens when she goes coast to coast and she sees Jackie ahead in the corner? What happens when she goes coast to coast and she sees Aaliyah Nye on the wing? What happens then? And then my brain just got to going. Well, what if Kia starts to implement the go-ahead pass? We don't have to have the Kevin Love type outlet pass, but the go-ahead. I'm thinking back to high school and I'm like, I remember Coach Zam running particular, I'm not gonna say sets, but running practices and having sections of practice where there's no dribbles and there's 3 passes. Get the shot. So I'm sitting here watching Asia run the break, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, yo, I have basketball thoughts running through my mind right now that never crossed my mind when watching this Aces team. I think Asia's willingness to run the break, like I asked her, I think that changes a lot for this group.
I agree. And yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. And, like, you look at those teams in the NBA, like a lot of the great ones recently, the great offenses like the Golden State Warriors, obviously.
You
Like,
got to talk into the top of it.
like you see a lot of great offenses in the recent NBA, like obviously the Warriors, but also like early 20s Utah Jazz with like Donovan Mitchell, like coached by Quinn Snyder, where like the crux of their offense wasn't dribbling or isolation. It was literally just like quick fire passes around the
Absolutely.
perimeter and like finding the open man. So yeah, I think that's like, especially in the
Little
WNBA,
San Antonio-esque.
like where the WNBA is kind of like, I won't say isolation heavy, but it's like there's not much ingenuity in a lot of the play calling. Like that's definitely an area where Becky has a huge advantage over the 11, maybe probably 10 other coaches in the league. I mean, I'd say Stephanie White in Indiana is not like much worse, and obviously Cheryl in Minnesota is a legend. But other than that, like the coaches around the league are kind of food for her.
Ha! I think that's interesting that you said that
Sandy
too, right?
in New York too. But
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I actually, again,
Oh.
did you cover USA basketball?
no, I didn't.
Okay, so not even this time, but just any other year in general. The reason why I was asking is because, well, hell, Pop wasn't there this year anyway. I always talk about the parallels between Pop and go ahead and sit down, buddy. I always talk about the parallels between Pop and Becky, right? And I only got to cover Pop 2 summers. Seeing Becky year after year, and I've had the conversation with her, there are certain things that Pop would do at the end of practice, right? He'll huddle up everybody, he'll say whatever he says. And in the back of my mind, I'm listening and I'm like, oh, okay, there was a life lesson in there, right? Then I hear Becky talking these post-game pressers, and I'm like, respectfully to other leagues, respectfully to other coaches, respectfully to other players, I hear Becky speak sometimes, and I'm like, she didn't have to give us that. Right? And we're getting off the Aces right now. We're heading into some other basketball talk. But I'm sitting here listening to Becky day after day after day. And you just said that these other coaches seem like food for her, right? Becky's wired differently. And I've had this conversation with you on air before. I remember when I met Barry Odom. I remember when I met Tony Sanchez for the first time. I remember meeting Antonio Pierce for the first time. I say all of this to say football coaches are wired different. Mike Davis is another one, specifically. They're wired differently. You talk to them and you be like, oh, you really don't think about nothing else besides football.
Yeah.
Like, you're a little crazy. With all due respect to all of these different sports, I've been around hockey coaches, been around basketball coaches, been around baseball coaches. We will talk a lot of different stuff that has nothing to do with the sport. Football coaches is a little bit different. Becky has that football wiring. And the only other time I've seen it
Pretty accurate.
is from Pop.
That's why I was like, when I saw that Spurs job open up for a second, I was like, oh, uh-oh.
You said was?
Well, is.
Okay. I'm not trying to take away nobody's job, especially when they just get it. I still think as long as Greg Popovich is in those walls, I think Becky Hammond's name gets dropped every now and again.
But what the timeline for that and the timeline for the Aces season would probably require like a mid-season coaching change if that were to.
Well, to be honest with you, we've seen it with James Wade, right? And that was for an assistant job. So my only point in saying that is because I remember specifically when the Toronto job became available, I was trying to get to Becky because I know that they called her. So I wanted to know how long before the rest of the world started to say her name. And it kind of came out not too long after that Becky was focusing on the Aces. I said, that's because she got that phone call. Am I supposed to believe that the Spurs didn't call her again?
Oh, I absolutely believe the Spurs called her, but I mean, the question now becomes what her like desired path is if they offered it. I mean, then obviously we don't know if they offered it or not,
Yeah.
or what the conversations have been. But I mean, you'd have to imagine if that choice has to be made, it's going to be San Antonio.
I mean, I think if she had a preference, I mean, a choice, right, in terms of picking which spot to go to, especially if the other one that just gave me a call was Toronto. Yeah, I'm gonna take Wemby and whoever else is in San Antonio right now. You say I have De'Aaron Fox to pick? Yeah, we'll do that one. But we will be able to see Becky for the first time, at least regular season wise, here at the house tomorrow night, 7 p.m. against the Washington Mystics from the Michelob Ultra Arena. 1-1 Las Vegas Aces taking on the 2-1 Washington Mystics, who actually lost. Lost your headphones. Who actually lost to the Golden State Valkyrie in California, which counted as Natalie Nakase's first win as a head coach. Shout out to Coach Nat. You ready to talk NBA now?
Yes,
If you can get your headphones on, you good, brother?
Got them. These headphones are tricky, bro. They're like got a mind of their own.
Hey, I think the studio does, to be completely honest.
That's fair.
Again, we haven't, and if you guys follow this show pretty consistently, pretty frequently, then you guys would know that we've done shows before and we've heard things like throughout the walls and been like, okay, the custodian team left. So who's here? And again, you need one of these to even access this building. And bigger than that, I don't know if you know this, Will. You only need one of these for this floor. Every other floor you can go to.
When last time I was here, I tried to get up the elevator to come back to the studio, and I could only go to the third floor.
Yep.
Wouldn't let me go to the fourth floor. I was like, "What the hell's going on here?"
It's double blocked, right? So every time we're up here, we hear voices. We be like, Dog, I heard voices from over here one day.
It's a new building too, so
I'm like, there's nothing over there on the other side of that wall. Whatever, doesn't matter. Anyway, let's get to NBA talk. We're going to end the first hour with NBA talk. Again, this is your Thursday installment of the Talk That Talk radio show. I'm Terrell. That's Will. We got some NBA action to talk about. We got to talk MVP, right? Shout out to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder, which, by the way, might have the most fire like origin story for his son's name. You know his son's name, correct?
Shai's.
Yes.
What's it?
And I'm not into Greek gods anymore, so like now I have to double check. I wasn't like super into it as a kid, but I'm sitting back thinking, I believe his name is Adonis.
Is it?
That was the son of Zeus, which was the god of thunder, correct?
I'm not very in tune with Greek mythology, but I'll take your word for it.
I believe his name is Adonis because Adonis was the son of Zeus, and Zeus is the god of thunder. Which, if that's the case, hard. That is tough. But congratulations to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander claiming his first MVP. I hate feeling like a contrarian, and we'll get to all specifics in a second. Jokic's first MVP. I was like, I don't know. I'm looking at Embiid. Second one I had no problem with. Third one I had no problem with. This one, just in terms of numbers, right? It's hard to argue against it. I had Shai winning last year. Like I said, I wasn't mad that he didn't, but I had Shai winning last year. The only other one that stands out right now, I remember Steph's first one. It should have been James's. James should have back-to-back MVPs.
I disagree with that.
That's fine.
Steph's first one.
Is it his first one or second?
15 and 16 are Steph's MVPs.
I thought it was 14, 15.
No. 14,
James was 14 then?
14 was KD. James was
17.
Man, was Russ 17? James was 18, maybe.
I have to figure this out.
James should have won. James won 18 and he should have won 19. Or he was going. Like, him and Giannis were neck and neck for 19, and they ended up giving it to Giannis.
I had James for one of Steph's years.
What would that be? 2016 when Steph was unanimous, or 2015?
Well, Steph was, yeah. I was about to say, that year that Steph was unanimous, I didn't argue that one. But whichever other year, I definitely argue James. And that's the ones that come to mind right now. I've had issues with who won MVP the most in the last decade now, between trying to figure out when Giannis is getting his, when Joker is getting his, when Embiid is getting his. And I think that is something to say about the league, right? In terms of where it's going and where it's expanding. Complete sidebar, now that we're talking about where the league is going. Anthony Edwards is now the Minnesota Timberwolves all-time leading scorer in the postseason.
Doesn't surprise me too much. I mean, I get KG, but they didn't have postseason success. Like the Timberwolves have been to conference finals in back-to-back. Kevin Garnett didn't do that.
No, he definitely didn't. And I said it on Monday's show. I grew up a KG like Stan. Like you couldn't say nothing negative about KG around me. At no point did I ever feel like KG was going to win a championship in Minnesota. Anthony Edwards makes you think otherwise. But the reason why I brought that up is because earlier this season, he passed Cat for the most threes of all time in Minnesota. And I was like, damn, still feels a little early, but whatever. We'll take it.
That's kind of more surprising to me than the other one.
Both of these are to me. Both of these are absolutely insane to me. But let's get back to Shai really quick. I say that to say I usually don't have an issue with MVP because you're arguing whoever you argue. You can have a great argument. The other guy probably has a more significant one, right? So I'm not too mad typically. This year, Shai gets his, and I seen a stat that popped up. First of all, last time that a guard averaged 30 points, had as many 30-point games as almost as Steph, as Shai did this year, and shot the percentage that that Shai did this year was Jordan, right?
And that's actually like I would have voted for Shai if I had a vote. and the reason wasn't the consistency. Jokic, his stats, the best of his career, arguably. I mean, I don't have the sheets in front of me right
I
now,
think
but
it literally
they
is.
were probably the best of his career, right? But out of
Altogether, I don't think it's best rebounding year. But
out
yes.
of his MVP seasons, this is the worst Nuggets team.
Yeah.
It's his least consistent season because he had games where he was scoring 50, grabbing 20, dishing out 15,
Mhm.
but he also had games where he was absent. Not absent, but like he had games where he wasn't putting up those gaudy numbers. You have Shea throughout the season. I think he scored 20 points for like 67 straight games or something like
Mhm.
that. Like I don't think that could really be ignored when you're the guy day in, day out, literally every game for a 68 win team. And we see what that offense is without him. Like, I know how great that team is defensively, but they're also a top 3 NBA offense by the metrics. And you take Shea off that offense, they're in the 20s.
Easily, and I think they are too. Now, the stat that I saw that to me, I'm not gonna lie, made me pat myself on the back a little bit. We had Ben Golliver of the Washington Post on the show, right? Wemby gets drafted. We're having a conversation of next face of the league. I feel like my take could have been considered a cop-out, right? But my take was, I don't think there is a face of the league. I think the image of the face of the league is a bunch of flags stitched together. And I think the league benefits off of the fact that we have stars from all around the world. The stat that I saw was Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is now the 7th non-American born player to win the MVP in consecutive years.
I did see that as well.
Or 7 consecutive years, I should say. So 7 straight non-American born MVPs is what the NBA is looking at. I'm here to double, triple, quadruple, quintuple, whatever you need me to do. The next face of the league is a collection of flags.
I think it's Anthony Edwards.
I think that's the main face that you think of when you see the American flag.
Fair enough, yeah. I mean, you obviously have to account for Wemby, but yeah, I'd say that's a fair take. I don't think
Giannis is still Giannis. Luka is in LA.
Luka. You want to take?
I double dog dare you because I think my gut is telling me what you're about to say out loud, and that's why I haven't said it.
Luka's never going to win an MVP.
I wasn't gonna say that. I don't think it's too crazy. Why do you think that?
I mean, I think
Somebody might piss him off.
I
one
think
year.
he had a better chance in Dallas just with like having that like. I think he would have had a better chance like year 10, year 12 in Dallas, like career long. Like you're grinding with that franchise, like kind of Kobe arc. Like you're gonna give you one kind of like Kobe in 08. Is that if that was his MVP? I believe
There was.
But now you have him in LA where it's kind of like the expectations for better or worse are going to start way higher now for Luka. It's not going to be like where he leads the league in scoring and he leads like get his top 3 in assists and it's like, oh, this is amazing. That's going to just be the standard for Luka. And if he's not there, he's going to be getting bashed in the media and bashed constantly, especially while LeBron is still playing. And he's not. And first off, he's not going to win an MVP regardless of how he performs while LeBron's still on the team. It's not going to happen. So if LeBron plays 1 season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, and LeBron,
That was the argument I was thinking. Bron being on this team is hurting him.
LeBron,
Well, in that case,
I don't see LeBron as a guy who's going to retire this like after next season. I think LeBron has 2 seasons left.
I got 2 too. I got 2 for Bron as well.
And then when
talk to me.
Luka's what 29, 30 at that point.
Look, when he's done, yeah. So I mean, even still, I think you still can get 11 years out of Luka. Just depends at that point, right? But
I think he's going to be a great player. I think he's probably going to win championships in LA, a championship at least. I don't think he's going to win an MVP.
This is what I'll say. Not here for the hot takes, right? I told you guys when last time I tried to make a hot take, it was about Wemby and it wasn't a good one. But what my gut has been telling me recently, and I'm trying my best not to like, because I don't know why I can't shake this feeling. Part of me feels like, yes, the Lakers made the playoffs this year, right? The Lakers were a 3 seed this year too. As I look at the way that Dallas is constructed, before the number 1 pick, I said before the trade deadline was over, go get Jimmy. They didn't get Jimmy. I'm sure you've heard the same thing I keep hearing, and now the world keeps hearing Kevin Durant, right? I heard Giannis for a little bit. That I'm glad that died out, but we heard Kevin Durant. Part of me feels like Dallas is more equipped to win one before Luka does in LA. That's the feeling that I have.
I don't hate that take at all. I mean, especially with Flag coming in. I mean, that's just a gift from the gods. I don't even know.
Or from Adam Silver.
I don't know how to fathom that. I mean, I'm not a
Those
conspiracy.
A1s are fire, and I'm trying my best not to stare. Them shits are hard. This is the first time I've seen them like this up close, and I cannot wait to go buy my shoe. I'm probably gonna buy my shoe when I get out of here now.
I like the tongue. Like the tongue, like these are like the type of things I like a nice stick joint. Not like pause. But
That is hilarious. Let's get back to the action then. Let's get back to what actually happened on the court. Game 2, Western Conference Finals tonight. Oklahoma City pulls away from Minnesota late in the third quarter, early in that fourth. I like 2 things. I like the fact that these games, I'm looking up 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, excuse me. I'm looking at 65 to 67. I'm looking at 72 to 67. I like when games are like this, especially in the postseason. I may be weird, but just ask me, hey, what was your favorite era just in terms of basketball, right? That I lived for or that I lived through? Give me 02 to 2008. Somewhere in there. I said, yeah. Somebody was like, when playoff games was 71 to 69. Yes, actually. Give me those. Where you let your man free at the elbow and that bucket kills you. It matters. You let Miles Swift get a 15-footer and it killed you. Basketball was different then, right?
Yep.
I always go back and I ask people this. Derek Fisher's 24 shot. Do you remember the score?
no, I was 3 years old.
Don't do that again. I'm just gonna let you know. Don't do it again. Because now I feel extremely old. Because like I was locked in watching this game. If I recall correctly, it was 79-79. So that shot, everybody talks about that shot. It was 81 to 79. Kobe Bryant and Shaq was on that team. From that perspective, I'm happy.
I saw a box score from like I think it was the 06, maybe like around that era.
Probably
It
stunk.
was like 66-64. It was like a Pistons game. I was like that's a first quarter nowadays.
100%, 100%, easily halftime.
Like there's definitely been a team that scored 60 in a quarter, like multiple times.
This is bad, bro. This is bad. Never mind. But we're not seeing this on the West to this particular time, right? And I'm gonna be honest with you, we've seen it with Cleveland. These teams in the West are going bigger. I look at the teams in the East. Not every team is going big in the East. I look around the West and I'm like, damn, everybody's going big except for the Lakers. But I look at everybody else and I'm like, everybody else is not only putting one 7-footer out there. Here, take this 6'10" front court mate with you. And this is what's being trotted out there.
Except the Warriors suit.
Warriors too.
Damn.
Very good point.
Quitting post.
Very good point.
Disgusting. I'm a Warriors fan.
Very good point. I was about to say, if you can't tell, he has his angel-like vitriol, which I don't have today for several reasons. I know athletic fans hate to hear me tell you that right now, but it's fine. I'm not trying to start nothing. But I have like this Western Conference final. This is what gives me cause to pause. It feels like time has stopped a little bit for me. I remember watching Oklahoma City get these playoff wins in 2011. And I remember watching it. I remember when they played the Lakers. And I was like, similar to what we probably felt this year. I'm watching the team and I'm like,
That boy's put himself to sleep.
as he should have. As he should have. He was gonna. That's why I told you, the more you rub him, the more he will soak it up. The moment you stop, all right, I'm going to bed, guys. And the funny thing is, he picked the middle of the studio.
Yeah.
It's like, who told you to sleep there?
Respect.
But I looked back at that series and I was like, I don't see them beating the Lakers, right? And then every game I was watching that building and I was like, that building feels like I can feel it from here, right? Sitting in Inglewood, California, I'm like, that looks different. I remember watching that entire playoff run and being like, damn, it's gonna suck when they get to Miami. Part of me feels like, yes, these first 2 games in Oklahoma City looked crazy. Absolutely. Oklahoma City is what it is. Part of me feels like after game 4, we're going to be staring at possibly a tied series, even a 3-1 series. I think the feeling might be a little different.
I don't know about that. I think we might be looking at a sweep.
I don't know, brother.
I mean, I actually, before the series, had Thunder in 6, and I'm kind of backing off that now just because, like, you see the way the first 2 games have gone. Like, the Timberwolves for the first 3 quarters are hanging in there, and they're giving it everything they have, and they're selling out, and they're there. They're there. And then the fourth quarter comes along, and the Thunder, who have the most 10-0 runs in the NBA this season by far, go on a 10-0 run, and then they'll go on another 10-0 run, and before you look up, 5 minutes of game time have passed by, and what was a 6-point game is now a 23-point game. That's happened in 2 games where the Timberwolves played the first 3 quarters, not flawless, but very good.
Yeah.
I don't see that. Like, I don't know. Like, Timberwolves come out flat in one of these games, that's a loss. They don't play up to par in the first 3 quarters completely. That's already a loss because you know what Oklahoma City is going to do when they need to turn it up in the fourth. That's my concern.
I know this is going to sound nuts. Do you think Denver was better than Minnesota this year? Like a better team? Not what we saw, because we can talk about records, but do you think it was a better team?
I think they had the best player in the world, which made them have a higher ceiling. But as like in terms of depth, in terms of roster construction, take away Jokic and Edwards, the Timberwolves are a better team than the Nuggets.
Okay. Reason why I asked you that is because I feel like game 3, even if Minnesota gets a 8-point win.
But I also think the Thunder are a worse matchup for the Timberwolves than Nuggets.
Now that's interesting. Now that I'm not mad at you saying that, right? What I will, I'm gonna say argue. What I will add is if it's an 8-point victory in game 3 for Minnesota, but Minnesota leads for 80% of the game, you just said it right now. First 3 quarters in the first 2 games, even though I felt like game 1, I don't know why I feel the way I feel. I didn't feel like they had a shot in game 1, period. I just felt like OKC was going to do it. Tonight, I felt like they had a shot until they didn't. Game 3, if they lead for 80% of that game, you know what stats you're going to get at the end of game 3? Hey, the first 3 quarters in this game, Minnesota is actually plus 17. The problem is exactly what you just said you're worried about. They're minus 39 in the fourth. Only thing I'm saying is Tim Legler said it before I left the house. He was talking to Scott Van Pelt, and he said every 2-0 lead is not created the same. And I was literally brushing my teeth again before the show, and I was doing it, and I was like, yeah, I agree. And he was like, this one just feels so weighted.
I agree with that.
I agree, or I disagree, or I agree, legs, for the opposite reason. I do think that 2-0 leads are built or weighted differently. I just feel like even if you still think OKC wins, because I do think OKC wins, right? If Minnesota takes the next 2 games, I'm still going to be sitting here like OKC is probably going to win. I just think the think the verbiage around Minnesota and what they look like is a little different. That's it.
I think I could buy that if they win both games. I think if they're going back to Oklahoma City down 3-1, that series is good as over, and everyone's going to call the consensus. If that series going back to Oklahoma City for Game 5, 3-1, is going to be the Thunder are going to close this out with a 20-point win. I believe that it's going to be
That building.
It's going to be an 8.5 point spread. Like
That building would be what I point
the
to.
wise guys are going to be on the Thunder. Like it's going to be all there.
Well, speaking of being all there, I'm glad that Reggie was in Madison Square Garden to see that.
That was fantastic. I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm from New York, but I'm not a Knicks fan, so I don't take any like.
I don't care.
He texted me today. He said, "Expletive the Knicks," by the way, and I was like, I don't disagree with that. I'm a Warriors fan. One of the great memories of my childhood was watching Steph put up 54 at the Garden on my TV because it was on SNY that night. It was one of the few Warriors games I could watch as a young lad at my home as a fan. Religious.
He's absolutely right. I did text him that because, and this is the funny
I
thing
always
too.
forget you're a Pacers fan.
Now, here's first of all,
I don't know how a guy from Inglewood, California becomes a Pacers fan. That's how a guy like me from Avon Park, New York becomes a Warriors fan before they were winning championships. It's just
no. It's like a guy like you from, say your hometown one more time,
Avon Park, New York,
becomes a Patriot fan. That's the more interesting one.
I only grew up 2 hours from Foxborough. Like Foxborough is the closest NFL team from my childhood home.
Your address says New York, brother.
I get
And
that.
to me, I'm just like, ugh.
I get that.
How do you do that?
I was actually like when I was a first like kid, like my family's all Boston, like sports fans. Like my mom is from like Nahant, Massachusetts, which is like
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. We're not talking about Boston sports right now when the Pacers and the Knicks are on the docket. I don't care.
I mean, you invoked them. I didn't bring up the Patriots. You brought up the Patriots.
Well, we're talking basketball. So when you said Boston, that's why I was like, you could say New
No,
England.
I was never a Celtics fan. But
We could say New England.
My family was Boston's fans.
Yeah.
I was actually, before I was a Warriors fan, I liked the Lakers when I was a kid. But then I
Like
switched.
most people in this generation, probably.
Yeah.
Probably like a lot of Bulls fans growing up in the 90s. But
the funny story, I became a Warriors fan because a bunch of the older kids in my school were like, "Who's your favorite NBA team? Who's your favorite NBA team?" And I just wanted to sound like a ball knower, so I picked the worst team in the league. It's because the kid before me said the Lakers, and he got clowned. He's like, "Oh, he got clowned for being a front runner." So I was like, "Oh, I gotta switch this up quick, act like a ball knower." So I was like, the Warriors, and then after that, I stuck with it.
yeah, I think being a Red Sox is kind of wild too. Now that I think about it.
Cardinals fan.
I thought you was a Red Sox. Okay, see
My family's
that
Boston,
Patriot
yeah.
thing threw me off, by the way, completely. But getting back to the Eastern Conference Finals really quick, they're calling it so many different. I just realized that this is off. So many different names and moments at Madison Square Garden. So many different moments in this series. As a matter of fact, before the series began, I was watching like them break down something, and I saw the Larry Johnson 4-point play right against the Pacers, and it frustrated me. It burned me up initially, and somebody was like, "Why does that bother you so much?" And I was like, "Because I'm conflicted." The UNLV in me is like, "Yeah, LJ, that derailed the year." Like in the back of my mind, I'm like, it was over after that. So to me, this New York Indiana series is one of the few times I get to be a kid again. Right now, everybody knows, and we've had this conversation here before. Being in this field, obviously, I have no real dog in the race. Shout out to the New York Knicks, but Will is absolutely right. I had to tell a New Yorker, fuck the Knicks. I feel like it's the part of the job title. You're supposed to say it. But no, in all seriousness, I was very, very vocal on Monday, and I said this is my analytical brain versus my gut feeling, right? Like, what do I feel? I said for the first time in a long time, I feel like it's both. I feel like I get a little bit of both, but it's leaning me toward the same way. excuse me, I said the way that this goes, in my opinion, I said I feel like the Pacers get their doors kicked in game one. I said I feel like ultimately, I made a face. I said I feel like the Knicks get it in 7. That's just where my gut is, right?
Pacers in 7.
You got Pacers in 7?
On my written prediction.
Which I'm cool with. I'm with 7 games. I feel like it's going 7 games regardless.
I actually don't anymore. I think probably Pacers in 6.
Either way, I'm not mad at that either. This is what I will say. As I'm driving to work on Wednesday, because I'm in the bar Wednesday night, I'm driving to work, and I start to feel differently. And for the first time in a long time, I'm sitting in the car, and I'm like, do you feel differently because you want the opposite to happen? Or do you feel differently because you didn't pick the Pacers because you thought that was your fan brand? And I don't know which one it is. And I'm trying to figure it out. So just in terms of my prediction, it couldn't have gone any better for me in terms of fandom. The Pacers got their doors kicked in for 44 minutes. And then they didn't.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And for the first time, and don't laugh, but I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I said, hey, being a Pacer fan, I said, I've been like legitimately like holding my breath. Since 2000, excluding the NBA Finals run, because we know what that was. Excluding 2000, I've legitimately felt like the Pacers have had a chance to win it all 3 times. 2004 when Tayshaun blocked Reggie. LeBron's last year in Miami. That was when PG was there with Roy Hibbert. That was when
14.
I think so. That was when we
I
had.
think they had a better chance in 13 when they were. It was
trying to
kind of like
think.
13 was kind of like the dark horse run.
Well,
but it kinda
Danny Granger was still around 13. He was hobbled, but he was around 13. I think 14 he was off the team completely, and I think 14 I had a better feeling than 14.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, you can go back and figure it out. Game 1, when the Pacers led all game, and Bron got that damn game-winning layup in game 1, and Roy Hibbert was on the bench. I would never forgive you, Frank Vogel. But whatever year that was, I felt the Pacers had it until that buzzer went off. When that buzzer went off, I said we lost game 1. That was our shot. It's over.
I do think that was like the toughest team LeBron had to face in the Eastern Conference.
His Miami stint, that was his hardest run.
No, in his entire Eastern Conference stint from now, not at the beginning, from post 2010 on.
Okay, because I was about to say, yeah, them early Detroit
years,
series,
those early years were tough for him. But I would say post 2010 on, that was the toughest team he faced in the East because he faced some real horrible teams in the East. I want like not horrible exaggeration, but like he
the way he made him look.
That 10 straight finals run
is one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life.
It's crazy, but it's less crazy when you look at the teams he was beating.
I don't care
what team in that 10-year span was ever going to beat him. And I get that's because of him, a lot of it. And in my opinion, the second greatest basketball player of all time.
That's mine, too.
But
I'm still picking Bean over both of them.
Wow. But I'm not like even in real time that I was never like, this is the most impressive thing I've ever seen. I'm just like, LeBron is supposed to win these series. It's just that he's so great that it's been going on for a long time.
Don't say wow to me again when I say that.
I don't know.
Don't do that again. Because you're going to make me take shots at Jordan and Bron, and I don't want to do it to defend Kobe. I think in terms of
I don't mind people taking shots at Jordan or Bron. I'm all for you getting messy.
Because I was about to say, with all due respect,
I'm a Curry guy, so you muddy those waters as much as possible, so I can just get my little guy up there, just in the conversations.
I think Steph is a lot higher than y'all want to admit, and I said that like 2 years ago.
I've been saying that for a minute too. I've been fighting the good fight for a while, but
I got Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Steph hovering around the same spot.
Hakeem is a guy that like I've come to appreciate more with age. I've obviously as someone who didn't get to see him, but as a kid, you don't really appreciate those big men, and especially like a crafty big man like Hakeem, Hakeem, that's the best footwork in the history of basketball, still to this day.
I'll give you this story real quick before we get back to the Pacers because we are into hour number 2 of your Thursday installment of the Talk That Talk radio show. I'm Terrell. That's Will. I'll tell you what. I told you before I used to go back and watch old. I still do. Go back and watch old random games, right? And I was watching the '94 NBA Finals, and excuse me.
That's one of my favorite finals, by the way, because the OJ car chase happened in Game 6.
Absolutely. And Hakeem Olajuwon was on one end. He's obviously showing off that footwork. He puts up a right hand hook. He misses. He hits the front of the rim. He thinks he gets fouled. He goes up for the hook shot. Appears to get hit. He looks back at the ref and he's like, "What the?" They're running the other way. When I tell you it was Giannis like, he was like, "Yo, what the?" 1, 2, 3, 4. Blocked it.
Insane.
I said, "There's no way in hell, dog." And I went back and watched it several times. And I was on FaceTime at the time. And the person I was on FaceTime with, she was like, "Why do you keep rewinding? Even if I explained it, you wouldn't know." Because what I'm watching right now, it's not even a basket. It's not even a made basket. You would be looking at me like, "What are you watching?" There's no way he should have caught up to that ball. That's what I'm watching. When you look at what he was able to do in the 90s, again, I talked whatever little shit I talked about with Bill Russell. Same thing with Wilt Chamberlain in terms of who they played against. Go watch Bill Russell run the break. Go watch Wilt Chamberlain catch somebody's ball out of the air and take off with it. Dog, you 6'11" doing that? Yeah, Hakeem is different. But going back to this game, really quick, I was in the bar and the game is going how it's going. I even said on my radio show, like I'm telling people, I said it on the show. I think the Knicks, they should take game 1. Right around halftime, I said, this is what happens with my Pacers all the time. I tell you I have no expectations, and then you show me that you're hovering around. Now I want it. Now I want game 1. I'm thinking game 2 was the one, but now I want this one. Fast forward to the last shot, right? Last shot of regulation. Tables are closing out. I'm in the bar. Tables are closing out. One table in particular, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to get out of here because y'all not going to win tonight." I just looked at him. It's okay. That last foul happened. The Karl-Anthony Towns foul happens. I said, "You're right." I said, "Oh, he said because this was over." I said, "You're right." I said, "Because he's going to miss one, if not both of these, and we're going to come down and hit the game-winning shot." I don't know why. Clearly, I was the only Pacer fan in the building. Shocker there. But I'm sitting in the bar, and as I'm sitting there, I watched Tyrese run down. Maybe it was OG at the free throw line. I watched Tyrese run down. I'm looking at Miles Turner on the right wing, like, pass the man the ball, bro. He's standing right there. When I seen him penetrate and then go back to the 3, I said, okay. I said, he wants it. Like, this is one of the times you let your star do what he does. He wants it. As soon as the shot went up, when it hit the back of the rim, again, we watched ball. I noticed the arc that he hit it with. As soon as I seen the shot go up and hit the back of the rim, the building reacted. Everybody else is like, "Oh," all you hear in the middle of the groans, bounce in. Dog, you would have thought I hit that damn shot. That building blew. By the way, every head in the dining room is to my left. As soon as the shot bounced in, only thing I saw was every head in the dining room look at the bar. Yeah, because all of y'all in here tormented me for 46 minutes. All of y'all shut up.
Yeah, I definitely was. I mean, my friends are all Knicks fans, and there's nothing I love more than seeing my friends' favorite teams lose. So, in the group chat, I was just sending the voice memos, but I was like, "Ah, suck it." I had an audible reaction on my couch to Halliburton. I was working, so I was like writing. I was like barely even watching him, and I didn't even realize what Nesmith was doing at first
Mhm.
because I was like, I saw him hit a couple threes. I'm like, okay. I didn't realize he scored 20 points in 5 minutes because I was just typing away.
Trust me, I didn't realize it either until the moment, like the last shot.
I see I look right up at the perfect time for Halliburton's shot. I see it bounce off the rim, and I go, "Oh Jesus Christ!" And I'm like, "Oh, it's gonna go in." Like I just know because I seen the Kawhi, like I just seen it, and I goes in. I just am I like by myself on my couch,
Bro, because there's no way, because it shouldn't have happened,
and
dog.
It was like I wrote a thing for
It feels
Ball's
like it
Life
shouldn't have
today. It was like a collection of like so many great moments in NBA history. It's like you have the Reggie choke symbol first and foremost, but you also have it's a throwback to Kawhi. It's a throwback to KD with the foot on the line.
Yeah, that's another great point. It's several throwbacks to it, right?
It was just like, and it's the series is already like an ode to basketball history for junkies. Like it just felt like it. If there's basketball gods, I think that was like the biggest proof they exist last night. It was just it felt like a TV show. It felt like the season premiere of like the last season of a great saga. Like I don't know, it felt like scripted in a way that I don't like, and I don't say that scripted in a way like it was fixed. I say
Yeah.
it was scripted in a way that
Like
it
a
was like
movie.
a Hollywood movie. Yeah.
So going back to that, and I said that, I think I started this conversation by saying
You had the
this.
camera pan over to Reggie, and you have Reggie.
Well, no,
doing
that
game.
moment when the fact that he was mic'd up
it was some of like
is special.
just the production of it, and obviously TNT this is their swan song in terms of NBA coverage. I mean, what a swan song that is. That's one of
Well, it's
I'm someone who I appreciate like the cinematic value of like sports broadcasts. Like if you see like you watch a Mets broadcast, they have it that's run by NYU film grads, so they're cutting they're trying to make the Mets broadcast. They're doing like film school techniques and like legit like director techniques. Like that was what I felt like. I don't think TNT was doing that last night, but I got a similar vibe like watching that. It felt like I was watching almost like an old western, like in terms of like
what you kind of just talked about it. It's the Knicks and Pacers.
yeah.
It's the lore that it gives you anyway. It gives you a certain energy to begin with. Like I said, the fact that Tyrese was mic'd up, a couple of things happened in that moment. He looked the wrong way one time. The next direction he looked, I don't know what he saw, but he zeroed in on Reggie. So the choke sign is whatever it is, right? For him to point at Reggie, and you could see it's still almost like you kind of just said that you were on your couch and you kind of almost had like a little kid moment. You could see he still had his little kid moment when he pointed at Reggie to hear him say, "Ooh, they choked again." I said, "Yeah." I said he's still realizing it. But then you see after he does, and then to give you another callback, after he said that, then the Dame face sets in. Then everybody mobs him fully. And that's when it's kind of like it sets in fully for him. That first 3 seconds after the fact, we talked about Jason Tatum not having anything of his own. That one felt different. We saw Tyrese do it, and we almost was like, yeah, he was going to get one of those this series. The fact that it happened in game one, the fact that it happened the way that it did was just otherworldly. But this is what I will say. I said this before. I said we feel like the team of destiny. The third time in terms of when I felt good about the Pacers is this year, actually. I said we feel like the team of destiny. And one of my coworkers was like, what are you talking about? I said, remember when Auburn went to the Final Four? If you watched that college basketball season, you got to about January and was like, let's see what Bruce Pearl is doing. And then you got to March and you was like, oh, okay, well, they'll probably lose this one. This is a tough one. You looked up and was like, damn, they in the Final Four. And I said it during when they were in the Elite Eight. I said, this one just feels different. They look like, in terms of the basketball gods, they look like they on their side. The first round happens. I said, okay, this feels the way it feels. Second round happens. In terms of that comeback in the second round against Cleveland in game one. And I said, okay, this one feels different. I already thought the Pacers would win against Cleveland in 5 or 6, but to see the way that they did it,
You thought they were going to win in 5 or 6 like before the series started? That's crazy.
I think
I'd Cavs sweeping.
wow.
I was high on the Cavs before. Like they went that series beat up, and I think.
And I want to go back and see what I have on record. I had Pacers. I thought it was us in Boston again, and I thought Boston was going to walk through us.
My thing with the Cavs was all season. Windhorst said this on like ESPN a couple months ago, something like that. My thing with the Cavs was every team that played them this season swore they were like, this is the toughest team in the league. Like you have to play almost perfect on any given night to beat them. And then you see that first round series, and it's like a confirmation of that fact. Like they beat Miami by the widest margin in a 4-game playoff series ever in NBA history. So you're entering a series in Indiana, like they were really, really good entering that series at that point. Obviously, post All-Star break, they've been one of the best teams in the league. But I'm still not thinking like, I mean, the Cavs are a 64-win team. The entire league's waxing poetic about how great they are. I didn't see it, but the one reason that I wasn't too surprised in hindsight was they entered that series. Garland's not playing the first game. I think that was a huge blow. And then the second game,
I didn't mention health.
No Garland or Mobley, which now you're down 2-0.
Then you saw what Garland looked like game 3, and you was like, okay, this could happen, and then it didn't change much, right? I'm gonna tell you why everything changed for me. Or why I thought what I thought. In terms of Cleveland, I've always talked about their high pick and roll with Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley, or Darius Garland and Jared Allen, or any combination of those 4, because I always looked for the second pass. 9 times out of 10, whatever guard goes off of that action, they're going to dump the ball off to whoever the screener was, and then it's a lob to the other big. That action all year long, I watched it torment teams. And I said, come playoffs, somebody got to figure out how to defend that. And once you defend that, Cleveland's a regular team. Miles Turner on the offensive end, he's going to bring Jared Allen out of the paint. Cool. Where everything changed for me was 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, I think, 2 years ago, when this team went and got Pascal Siakam. I told my dad, I said, this one changes it for me because you win this season, you go out and you re-sign him. If you re-sign him, he's not a super big name to the point to where, oh, I'm going to Boston, I'm going to Philly, I'm going to LA, I'm going to Miami. You might be able to keep him.
Yeah.
I said, and bigger than that, he's won. I said, and bigger than winning, there were times when you watch those Toronto games, we know who we're going to close it out with. There were times throughout those Toronto series, or that Toronto championship, several series you went through it and was like, hey, they're playing through Pascal. I told my dad, once I added that to Tyrese Halliburton, I thought possibilities were here. But speaking of possibilities, hour number 2 of the Talk That Talk radio show, we have baseball news. We have a quick update on the Nighthawks as they get prepared for a Sunday night game in San Diego. But quick baseball news. The Aviators snapped a 12-game win streak for Sugarland today. 16-3. Huge lopsided win for the Aviators tonight. It's a win in several departments, as a matter of fact. Sugarland, keep in mind, I told you guys the Aviators are in the middle of a 12-game stretch that could determine this entire first half. The Aviators are in Sugarland for 6 games, at home against Oklahoma City for 3, back on the road for 3 against Oklahoma City, and those are the first 3 place teams. Does that make sense? Yeah, first 3 place teams, I guess you could say, in the Pacific Coast League. So I believe Matt Neverett said it at the end of the finale on Sunday. He said 500 ball for the Aviators over the next 12 games maintains their 3-game lead. I said, I've been around this group, and I'm not saying that Matt hasn't, because he's been around this group, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I've been around this group. I've been down there talking to Fran Reardon. If this team plays 500 ball over the next 12 games, Fran is going to feel like something went terribly wrong. This group has done a lot of winning early in the year. It has. This group has taken advantage of teams that are not only on down years, might be historically bad years. So the Aviators are doing what they're supposed to do. They're beating the teams that are put in front of them. This is the real moment, right? You're playing the second place team. You're playing the third place team. You just played the second place team in the West a second ago when you played Reno. But now you're in Sugarland. They're riding a 10-game win streak. They beat you in the opener. Now they're 2 games back. You bounce back tonight with a 16-3 win. As of right now, guys, the Aviators are 31-16. They are first in the Pacific Coast League and all of the Pacific Coast League. They beat Sugarland, so Sugarland is now 3 games behind. Here's the deal. Oklahoma City won earlier tonight. So Oklahoma City was waiting to figure out what happened, right? Because either way, they're looking at 2 teams ahead of them. Oklahoma City and Sugarland are now tied. They're 3 games behind the Aviators, excuse me. And now I wonder what Oklahoma City want. They probably don't care either way, but I wonder what they want, right? Some teams want to take the top spot from a particular team. I don't care if the other team takes it from you and then they stumble in the next one. I wonder what Oklahoma City wants, because when they get here on Monday and they get ready for that game on Tuesday, they very well could be playing a number 1 Pacific Coast League team in Las Vegas. 4 games left. 4 games left of a scheduled 6 games against the Space Cowboys. Have you seen their uniforms?
The Space Cowboys.
Google it right now.
I've played them in like MLB The Show, so I don't know if.
So you've seen, they are identical. If you've done it, then they're identical. That Sugarland Space Cowboy. First of all, do you know where they play?
I know there used to be a team called the Sugarland Skeeters.
That was them.
I love that name.
Not better than the New Orleans Baby Cakes.
My favorite is UC Irvine, the Anteaters, because they call themselves the Eaters.
I'm so glad.
Go Eaters, go Eaters, go Eaters.
The Thursday night show. Oh my gosh!
They got like Nike shirts that say "Go Eaters."
Now I gotta go get one just cause. That's hilarious. Game 3 of the scheduled 6 is tomorrow. Keep in mind, guys, just in terms of doing the math, right? Typically, I come to you guys on Thursday night and I'm telling you guys what the series looks like halfway through. Not happening this particular time around. Remember, the Aviators have back-to-back off days for the first time this season. Monday and Tuesday, back-to-back off days. That means you get Memorial Day baseball. This series is running until Thursday, or until Monday, excuse me. But that would mean that the Aviators are getting ready to lock into a stretch of games. I believe it's 12 straight games. It might be a separate game in between the Oklahoma City series, both of them. It has to be a travel day somewhere in there. So I think it's 9 straight games, but I have to double check my notes. But game 3 of a scheduled 6 is tomorrow from Constellation Field. Do I have to talk about the other one? Do you know where I'm going?
Not exactly. Maybe I probably should, but it's late. About 3 brain cells left right now.
Well, I mean, you might use them all right here. So here's the deal. I am very open about growing up a Pacer fan, growing up a Packer fan, growing up all these different things, right? I'm most vocal probably about my fandom growing up for the for the Angels. Even saying that, the fact that this Angel squad was able to sweep the A's in 4 straight games, I'm not gonna lie. We just talked a little bit ago about what Leg said about all 2-0 leads are not built the same, not built equally. All sweeps aren't weighted equally either, right? The Angels won game 1-4-3. The Angels won game 2-7-5. The Angels won games 3 and 4 10-5 apiece. Prior to this, the A's were swept by the Giants, and I talked about that series filling away. I said yes. There were two. There was a sweep, 3 straight losses. 2 of those losses were by 1 run. One of those 1-run losses happened in extra innings. Oh, well, no longer Oakland, but A's. If you're an A's fan out there, it's a long season. We play 162 of these. You might get a 3-game stretch like that. Not gonna lie. First time all season long, I'm hovering over the panic button. We already talked about this division stinking. The AOS is terrible. I don't know if you've seen what the standings look like. It looks like the AL Central from the last 7 years.
Yeah, I can imagine that with the way Houston was.
It's
Still.
bad. Matter of fact, let me tell you who's leading it. Seattle's leading at 28-21. Not too bad, right? Houston's the second place team, and they're 2 games over 500. So it gives you a little idea when you play 460 of the 400. Whoa. You play
Seattle's
162 of
like,
these.
It's like terrible though.
They're not. Well,
Playoff team.
let me not say that.
When was the year they made the playoffs on that walk-off home run? Was that like 22, 23?
Was that 2 years ago? That would be 23. I think
Was it?
it was 2 years ago. But I say that to say, what did we just say about the Aviators? They're beating the teams they're supposed to beat. Hey, Athletics, I said it. Last year, you overachieved. You did. Everybody expected you to be piss poor. And we're like, look at that. They won 70, whatever. That was the angle, right? I said this year, I said you should probably hover around the same thing. The Aviators are the... This is so hard covering the Aviators and the Athletics. This is ridiculous. The Athletics, looking at your record at 22-29 right now, currently 7 games behind the top spot in the AL West, maybe you will end up in the same spot, right? Maybe you will have about the same part of the season. Or the same, you may end up at the same spot when it's all said and done in this season. However, what if you don't? And this is a conversation that I haven't had all season long because the A's haven't given me any reason to have this conversation. But now let's explore the possibility. This team has lost 9 straight games. You deduct 9 results out of this team's record. They were 2 games over 500. Didn't I just say the second place team is 2 games over 500?
Yep.
You know what you can't do, Athletics? Regress. And I don't even know if at any point last season they had a 9-game losing streak.
It's like they almost might have did themselves a disservice by being not disgustingly terrible last season because it like affects like the timeline. It obviously affected some of the offseason decisions. I thought they were just kind of throwing money around this offseason without much direction. I didn't think like they spent Severino, I believe, right?
Luis Severino.
That was not a great signing, just throwing money at a guy because he had a decent stint in New York. It was their most expensive contract in history, I believe, in franchise history. If it wasn't Severino, it was another one they signed this offseason. And it's like
Brent Rooker got signed. Brent Rooker signed his extension this offseason. You just said it. Luis Severino signed a huge. I think that one might be the contract. Actually, I think it's Severino's. But when you put all of that on paper, and you kind of just said it, right? I hate to be that guy, but I said last season the way that the season went. I said or maybe 2 seasons ago, I said the way that this is feeling for me, this feels like Marvin Menzies. This feels like oh my gosh, I almost said Derek Fisher, but it wasn't Derek Fisher. Can't think of whichever other coach it was. Why is it blanking? But going back to the Marvin Menzies point, it almost felt like Mark Kotsay was going to be put in a position where he was going to be fired after 3 or 4 seasons, and his record is probably going to be gross, right? That's what I'm thinking years ago. His record is probably going to be gross. Oakland's going to fire him. They're going to move to Vegas. They're going to hire a new manager. 2 years from then, they're going to start having success. Mark Kotsay is going to be sitting at home like, I took all the hits for you. Which is why everything that you just said, I don't know how closely you watch the Athletics, but this is what I was saying. Unfortunately, what they did last year, to me, put more of a clock on Kotsay.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially covering somebody like a Fran Reardon, where Don Logan told me in last April, I'm waiting for him to get the call. Every year I go into the offseason expecting him to get that call. I don't know whether the call is going to come from our big league team, but he's going to get one. And I have to be ready for that. Fran was just up with the big league team last week. Not saying anything. They had a bench coach. They had a family emergency. But
So they-
Fran was there.
So when the bench coach has when the bench coach has a family emergency, they call up the AAA manager.
That's what they did this time around.
That's interesting. I don't know that was the protocol.
And the Aviators lost a couple games too. I think the first 2 games where Fran was
Right.
out, back-to-back games.
Hey,
You know,
prove your worth.
it's not like he's a 2-time manager of the year or anything. But I thought it was interesting to mention. I am a Kotsay fan. I don't know that Kotsay. Let's say they win 60 games this year. Terrible, right? Kotsay's fired.
Oh yeah.
Let's say they win 70 games this year. Kotsay might be fired.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably borderline. And then
Kotsay might have to finish better than 500. And I don't know that this team is designed to finish better than 500.
they're not finishing better than 500, especially not now with the way they've been playing.
So I can't make sense of it, but every sign to me, every time I look at Mark Kotsay, I see Marvin Menzies, and I'm just like, oh, I feel like he's about to get the raw end of this deal, whether he knows it or not. Speaking of raw ends of deals, this Nighthawk team rather is I'll give you guys one last Aviator or athletic piece of news. Really, you want to guess who their next series is against?
I have no idea. I don't barely even know the teams.
Wait, I'm talking about the A's.
Oh, the A's. Oh, Rangers. I don't know.
They would probably hope if it was the Rangers because they're playing the best team in the NL. They're welcoming in Philly. I have a sneaky suspicion that this 9-game losing streak might grow.
Yeah.
Speaking of not trying to have losing streaks grow, this Nighthawk team most recently suffered that last-second loss that I told you guys about on Monday to Arizona. It was a 50-47 loss. Dalton Sneed, former UNLV product Dalton Sneed, likes to play this Vegas indoor football team. Actually 2 of his last 3 outings against Vegas, maybe back-to-back outings, he scored the game-winning touchdown late in regulation and or overtime, right? This particular Spade picked up his elephant again. This particular time, Vegas went into the 4th quarter up 12. And then halfway through the quarter, they're up 12. Gonna be honest with you, I don't know how you feel about it, but we discussed it on Monday. Shout out to Alex Wright from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, who was on the show on Monday. I don't know how you feel about it, but just in terms of football, being 8-6 versus 7-7 matters, right? Covering this team, and I don't even know what year this is for me covering football. This is probably 17 covering football in general.
17. Jesus Christ.
Didn't I say don't do that again?
I'm doing it.
I just said don't do that again. My first year of covering high school football, it was 2008. Yeah, brother. 2008.
You weren't even that old in
I
2008.
was 14.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was a 9th grader. I was covering 11th grader. It's just, yeah.
When I was 14, I was an idiot.
I was too. I still was an idiot just doing this.
I didn't even have
Direction.
I didn't even have consciousness until I was 18. I was messing up till I was 18.
To be honest with you, I used to always be a stat geek, right?
Yeah.
So I would play my game. I would play NBA Live. I would play 2K or whatever. And every time my game was over, my dad would think I was nuts. Every time my game was over, I would write down what happened, and I would do this. I would do it Don't laugh. But I would literally go through 82
No, I would do
games.
I would create like universes in my head and like
Basically the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I would do 82 games, and my dad is walking in the room like, "Why are you playing Charlotte versus Boston?" Because they play tomorrow. And he'll be like, "Well, why are you?" Okay, but like, out of all teams you chose to pick, well, I'm just doing what the schedule say. Like the schedule, that's the next game on the schedule. That's it, dog. I got the high school. I bullshit you not. I got the high school my first day walking around on campus. I walked by the newspaper stand, and I was like, "Okay, this is dope." Whatever. I walked by the class. The hell is this? Somebody was like, "Oh, this is journalism."
I don't even think my high school had a newspaper.
We did. Yeah, I went to Westchester, so Westchester wasn't playing, right? Westchester is one of those schools in terms of basketball. I was like, "What the hell is this?" And they was like, "It's a journalism." The hell is that? And they was like, "Oh, it's like you're like reporting, like the newspaper." And I was like, "Okay, dog." They showed me something. I went and looked. I'm looking through. I started seeing numbers. I started seeing stats. I turned it around. I said, "Oh wait, y'all cover the games that are like on campus?" And they was like, "Yeah." Where do I sign up?
Yeah.
I was 14. I was like, "Say less. What I got to do?" I actually might have been 13 at the time. Actually, my birthday was 2 months after that. But I was like, "I can do this. This is my game in real life." That was literally how I got introduced to what I'm doing now.
Crazy.
I said, "So you're gonna give me real people to cover?" Oh hell yeah, I'll do it.
Better than I was doing in high school. We would put a rock in like the gym locker room door so he could just sneak out and go smoke weed in the woods. And then he would come back in and go to gym class. That was about my high school experience.
Mine wasn't far off. I just, you know, I had to talk to Coach Zan before that. But yeah, man. I say all that to say I've been covering football for a long time, right? And for the first time ever, I'm looking at a week-to-week record, and I said this might be the worst spot to be in. The Nighthawks loss last week took them from 4-2 to 4-3. When they was up heading into the fourth quarter, I'm typing my notes, whatever I'm writing, or I'm typing my story, I'm writing my notes, and I'm looking and I'm like, wait a minute. Or once they lost, rather, I'm typing my story and I'm like, wait a minute. This team looks completely different at 5-2 than it feels at 4-3. Whether you think the Nighthawks are a good team or not, you got to respect that 5-2 team. Whether you think that team is a good team or not, you have to address the fact that that team is 4-3. And I think that's important to note right now. I feel like I'm looking at a good team. They shouldn't have 3 losses through the first 8 weeks of the season.
That's fair. I mean, I can't say I have much Nighthawks expertise in me, but
well, I'm talking about just the
in
record
football in
idea.
general.
Yeah,
I would say like you definitely rather be 5-2, and then 4-3. It's like, yeah, I mean, you don't want to be hovering around 500 in any circumstance. And I mean, 5-2 in reality isn't that far above 500, but it
feels
like
completely
way above.
different.
It feels like you're because 5-2 could.
I gave you the 7-7 argument earlier.
5-2 could turn to 6-2 quick. 4-3.
Alex,
Obviously, we're just doing like basic math here, but it's like
no, but
obvious in that.
But we're talking feelings, right?
Yeah.
Because Alex said it on Monday. Alex is like, at 5-3, you lose a game and you be like, eh. Or at 5-2, you lose a game and you be like, 5-3, we'll get it together. At 4-4, you lose a game and you start to look around the locker room. We're halfway through the year and we're at 500. This isn't the way it's supposed to feel. You add that with the fact that they lost to a team. First of all, that game was for first place. They lose that game, but then Bay Area wins. So now Arizona sit at the top at 6-1. Bay Area sitting behind them at 5-2. And now Vegas is 4-3 looks different, right? Add that to the fact that this team is heading into their second of a back-to-back road situation. I just mentioned it earlier. Sunday night, they're headed to San Diego for a 6 p.m. kickoff against the Strike Force. 1-1 against San Diego this season, including 2 games in the first 3 weeks of the year. I'm not going to lie. This game is going to tell me a lot. This game is going to tell me a lot about this group. I've seen this offense sputter at times, even with an MVP, a reigning MVP, under center, and even the games that he hasn't been under center, right? But this Nighthawk team is definitely. Maybe I'll talk to Mike before Sunday, because I got to figure this out. I got to know what this team is thinking. You don't want to overreact early in the year. I feel like this is inching towards a must win, a early ass must win. I also think because San Diego might not be in the playoffs when it's all said and done. So if you lose this series to San Diego 1-2, I might come in here a little differently on Monday. Technically speaking, 3 minutes left until midnight. Thank you guys for joining us for this Talk That Talk radio show. Again, my dad has no tip in tonight, so I don't have really too much else to get to. Did want to highlight something really quick, right? I talked about my love for Indianapolis and my love for my Pacers growing up. At work, as a matter of fact, too, at work. I obviously got the same news that you guys got in terms of the breaking news on ESPN in terms of the passing of Jim Irsay, the Indianapolis Colts owner, 65 years old. Shout out to ESPN again for they don't do it all the time, but for the way that when a person passes, sometimes they just kind of put up just like career highlights, right? Just different things. I learned out of like the 4 or 5 career highlights they put up about Jim Irsay, I think I might have learned 3 of those in the moment. You talk about what you were doing at 13 and 14 and 15, right? Jim Irsay bought the Colts at 24.
GM at 24.
GM at 24, excuse me. You're running the Colts at 24 years old. Want to know what I was doing at 24 years old? On that campus, about 20 minutes from us right now. I was in no position to lead anybody's team.
Shit, I'm 25 right now. I'm a disaster.
There's no way you want us to be the GM of your team right now.
You put me in charge of a team right now, you're going to be bankrupt in 3 days.
I'm over here trying to change.
I'm just going to take all the money and just party with it. And just, like, put it right in my bank account and run off and skip town, and they never hear from me again. That'd be my contribution.
That'd be the way it is.
Yeah.
That'd be the way the story ends. Again, man, you talk about discipline, man. You talk about discipline at a young age. Shout out to James Boyd, right, of The Athletic, who covers Indianapolis sports out there. I'm not even finna short him and say he covers the Colts. James covers the Fever. He covers the Pacers. He covers the Colts. He covers. He did the Indy 500, or he's gonna do the Indy 500. So
I love that. By the way, this weekend I'm hyped.
Yeah. See, there it is. Shout out to your shirt too, gang.
That's NASCAR, but yes,
it's auto racing, brother. That's
the
why I
same.
shouted out the shirt.
Respect.
I hate Will, guys. I hate this guy. Oh my gosh.
I told you,
you're down to 2 brain cells now?
2 brain cells, and they don't like each other. They're just like.
This is great, man. But again, like I said before, man, we started this conversation by talking about Jim Irsay, right? Like, obviously, I know we're joking around right now, but we talk a lot about how we weren't equipped to do certain things at certain ages and stuff, right? Sometimes when you know, and you want that pressure at 24 years old, there's a reason why James talks about Jim the way that he does, right? And to see the relationship that and again, I'm not gonna sit here and say, and you guys know I say this all the time, I'm not friends with Mark Davis, right? The fact that I could walk up to Mark and get an interview on the spot means that we have some sort of relationship, right? To hear some of the reports that have come out of Indianapolis per James Boyd, in the back of my mind several times, I've been like, I wonder where you got that information. I wonder who gave you that one, right? No owner is perfect. No GM is perfect. No player is perfect. No coach is perfect. We can go all the way down the list. No reporter is perfect. I think who you are shows throughout your tenure. And I think the times that Jim Irsay has spoken out publicly about different things, I think you got a little bit of a glimpse into him. I think one of the things that stood out to me most about Jim, and I thought about it when he passed, I thought about the handling of Chuck Pagano. It's the first thing that went through my mind. I don't know if it should have. I don't know if I shouldn't say it. First thing that went through my mind was the way that the Indianapolis Colts handled Chuck Pagano. And I said, number one, it was handled like somebody who had been through something before. It's the first thing that went through my mind. To hear the way Chuck Pagano talks about the Irsay family and the Colts organization gives you a glimpse into who Jim Irsay was. I say all of that to say, not saying that I'm okay with it, but seeing that Jim Irsay passed at 65 years old made me go, man, that's really young. And then I thought about him doing what I believe he deemed to be his life's work since 20-something years old. Jim Irsay lived 80% of his life doing what he wanted. From that perspective, how can you be mad at it?
He had like one of the greatest lives ever. Like just like they were talking McAfee show today, how he would they would
Oh, another person I think about.
they would like have the helicopters like above Indianapolis, and it's like, oh, that's like that's the medics, that's that's the governor, that's the military, whatever. And up there's Jim going to whatever event he's going to, and it's just like, and then obviously he loved the party, which
Indeed.
I mean, I've mentioned it a bunch of times on this show already. I mean, that's something we definitely have in common. So I always had a soft spot for Irsay because I like those characters. Not even to just put like humor in it, but like I like those guys that are eccentric, that have like a zest for life, that are kind of just like, even if you're a billionaire, like he was a billionaire and he lived like a billionaire, but he was very much a common man in the sense that anybody could go up and like, and I feel like kind of Mark is in the same way where it's like
Absolutely.
they have so much money in there, but they want to be one of the guys, just like maybe more than they want to be looked at as a billionaire. So I mean, that's something I always respected.
And you kind of just talked about it a little bit in terms of Mark Davis. When you talk to Mark and the camera's on, you realize Mark is one of the guys. Like you realize that pretty quickly. That's why we talked about not being friends with certain people. I've had to tell people before, like Max Crosby is not my friend. Like we don't hang out. We don't text each other. Like that's not my friend. Me and Max are super cool. Like out of everybody on the Raider roster, with the exception now of Darren Waller, when he was there, yeah, those are probably the two that I was closest to. And that just is what it is, right? But you realize once these cameras go off, oh yeah, we're all the same person. Like that makes sense. So exactly what you just said about Jim Irsay, you do get that feel from him that it was just always, oh yeah, I'm talking to a common man right now. Rest in peace to Jim Irsay, man. I'm gonna be honest, brother. I like people that just do it their way. That's just you gotta respect the person that does it their way.
100%.
Well, Spade is by your feet.
Spade, get up. I see you. Show off that mug for the camera.
Spade, it's time to go, Bubba. You wanna get in the camera real quick?
It's cozy, man. You might not be leaving. You might be sleeping.
Yeah, it's looking like he heard go. He was like, we getting up. Spade is over here stretching. You want to go say see you to the people, Pop? We got some music to play. There you go. Go to Will.
Come here, Spade.
There you go.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
I can't think of a better way to end the show. I'm going to go to myself for a quick second, and we're going to go back to Spade and end it. Again, guys, that's Will. I'm Terrell. I appreciate you, Will, for coming through on this Thursday once again. Everybody in the chat, we thank you guys. Everybody commenting, we thank you guys. Until next time, gang, keep on talking.
It is be crazy.